They say everything happens for a reason, and sometimes we shouldn't go looking for those reasons. But when you're in my situation, you can't help but question everything. Nothing in this life makes sense. The only thing I can conclude is that I was created to suffer. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe there's more meaning to my life. I just don't know. All I want is an explanation to answer my burning questions like, how the hell did I end up here? The feeling of waking up in an unfamiliar location with no memory of any past events made me feel like a newborn. Everything felt so new to me, and seeing the imaginative designs of the buildings made me feel like a child full of imaginations, so young and so innocent. But before I could conclude this moment as a brand new start for me, a flashback played in my head. Though it was very vivid, I was able to regain some of my previous knowledge. They were my friends. We had been hanging out all night, and somehow, we had been separated. But what if this was just a dream? There was no way that a city like this could be real. But no matter what I did, I'd wind up back here. This was real life. I was lost in a strange, paper-looking city, all alone with no possessions, except for a piece of shit land speeder. My past was nothing but a blur to me, and I had no idea what to do. Well, there was one thing I could do. There had to be a way out of this place. Whether the exit was nearby or miles away, I was determined to find my way back home. My friends were somewhere out there waiting for me, maybe even trying to find me, but it was up to me to escape. Unfortunately for me, I never did find my way back. Instead, I ended up in a different city nearby the previous one. Although it had a slightly different layout, it too was like a ghost town. After wandering around for a little bit, I managed to find someone out in the streets. I was going to ask him for help and directions, but the fuck? What are you saying? Get away from me, you freak! It was no use. I couldn't communicate with him. I felt so hopeless. I was going to be trapped here forever. But even though I wanted to give up on life, there was a part of me that just wouldn't allow me to let go of myself. This was my life now, and I simply had to adapt to it. Luckily for me, there was an abandoned building nearby with plenty of space. This was the place I decided to crash for the night. Little did I know, it would become my home in this new life. The next morning, I woke up surprised to find that it was still dark outside. Despite this, I decided to head out and do some exploring. Throughout that day, I encountered some strange people in both cities, but what struck me most was the amount of cars I saw. Everywhere I looked, there was at least one car nearby. It was mind-blowing to me, and some of these cars seemed to have a mind of their own. So when I saw a few of them nearby my home, I tried to befriend them. But they all drove off as soon as they saw me. I guess I'm that ugly, huh? I can't even make friends with cars. But that didn't really matter to me because I did make one new friend. Well, almost. While I was trying out one of those car vending machines, which fucking suck, I came across a wanderer. He was going around observing things with a pen and paper, and I couldn't help but watch him. There was just something about him that fascinated me. Maybe because he seemed so invested in his work, Or maybe it's because there was something about this guy that seemed familiar to me. I wanted to get his attention, but I figured he would just run away, like the cars. Huh? A few days go by, and I still wasn't able to locate my friends nor my way back home. But what I did find were some new hobbies. While I was wandering around some more, I came across a junkyard pile and found some interesting items. And the great thing about junk piles is that you never know what you'll find. Now, scavenging may not be for everyone, but I really enjoy it. However, being a scavenger feels oddly familiar. Perhaps I was a scavenger before all this, but who knows. The second hobby I've developed is more like a game. Basically, I just chase little cars around with my land speeder until they either outrun me or get tired. I love it when they get tired. Makes me wish I could have done it with those cars who rejected me. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to play this game for a while because I made the horrible decision of playing it in the other city. I tried to put the land speeder back together, but it was no use. It was gone. That hobby was fun while it lasted. After I lost my land speeder, I set out to get myself a new vehicle. I attempted to make a vehicle using parts I've collected from the junkyard, but it just wasn't possible. I tried to keep a car from one of those car vending machines, only to discover they disappear after a while. I knew there was no way I would be able to fit into one of those miniature cars used to chase, and I didn't even bother looking for a vehicle in the other city to avoid the car who destroyed my land speeder. I even thought about stealing a car, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Eventually, I got desperate and started to go to alleys to see if anyone could hook me up. After hours of going through alleys and being offered drugs or being told to fuck off, I was ready to give up. But then, I met her. This creepy-looking teenage girl told me that she could get me a car if I gave her 20 grand. Now, I have no idea how she knew I was trying to get a vehicle because I didn't say a word to her. Nevertheless, I went ahead and accepted her offer, even though she needed 20 grand. I had no idea how I was going to get her money, but I was determined to find a way. Right before I left the alley, she says to me, "Don't worry. I'm a superhero. You can trust me." The next day, I returned to the other city to get my 20 grand. I figured I had a better chance of getting it there than I did in the broken down version of the city. While I was brainstorming ideas, I made sure to keep my eyes out for the car who shot up my land speeder. Unfortunately, there was another threat.
Oh my god! You are adorable!
This bitch would not let me go, and though I tried my best to get away from her, I was unable to break free.
Has Liam Neeson been considered for Bond?
I'm home!
Hey, Harley, what is that thing?
It's my new pet! Well, what species is it?
Along with a lot of other
I don't know.
So yes, I was considered.
Do you think it's safe to have in the house?
Well, we'll just have to see.
At least one Super Bowl commercial.
So what are you going to name it?
How about Axel?
I like it. I hated it. Such a repulsive name. I just had to get out of there.
Axel? Axel!
Harley, what are you doing?
Axel? Oh.
It's okay, Harley. We've always got Rocket Raccoon to hang out with. What? After camping out in a convertible, I set off to continue my journey of getting 20 grand. I spent the entire morning brainstorming, but I had nothing. As soon as the day reached noon, I was ready to give up, until I saw this beautiful metallic blue car pull up nearby. When the door opened on the wrong side, a man with long hair and a robotic arm hopped out. Though I'm sure many would be drawn to his good looks, I was drawn more to the automobile because the moment I laid eyes on it, I saw dollar signs. This car was definitely worth 20 grand, if not more. But there was a problem. It wasn't mine, and I really didn't want to steal it. It's wrong. But how else was I going to get the money? All I had to do was make sure not to get caught. And just like that, it was gone. After driving the car for a bit, I was tempted to keep it for myself, but I had the feeling the owner had already contacted the police. Plus, there was a chance I would get something better. So after I did my best to tell her that she could sell the car for a decent amount of money, she handed me some keys and said, "Your car is just outside." Unfortunately for me, I got scammed, and before I could gnaw that bastard's face off, she took the car and vanished. That was the day I learned that you couldn't trust anyone, not even a superhero. Oh, I'm sorry. Is this your home? It's okay. I'm leaving now. Trust no one. Life wasn't looking too good. I was still trapped in this unknown city. I still haven't found any of my friends. Everyone I've met has been an asshole. And I'm stuck with this piece of shit. I can't even chase cars with it because it's way too slow. However, it has become useful for scavenging because it holds more items. I've been trying to upgrade it with parts I found from the junkyard, but it's still worthless. I was really starting to lose myself. I wasn't sure how much more I could take with this miserable life. Until I found him. It all started with a regular trip to the junkyard. Usually I'll find a few useful items and then head back home. But on this particular day, I found something new. Something unusual. It was an old muscle car that had been left to rot away. I figured I would take it home and use some of its parts for my car. But when I saw the F-bomb decal on it, it gave me an idea. I spent the next few weeks creating the impossible. A regenerating bomb that's also a car with a mind of its own. After lots of trial and error, I had done it. F-bomb was his name. He was my creation, my bodyguard, my new best friend, and we were going to be together forever. I woke up feeling good knowing that I was no longer alone. I had my very own companion, F-bomb, who had run away one day after I completed him. Just when I was beginning to feel happy and optimistic for a better future, all of that was taken away in a flash. My own creation had left me, and I had no clue what he was doing out there. Then again, why should it matter? He's not my responsibility anymore. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss him. I spent the next week or so locked up in my home. I refused to leave. After everything that had happened, I couldn't find a reason to leave. But then one day, there was a knock at the door. Could it be? Has F-Bomb returned? No, it was just a cop. But he did have some news. My creation was now a wanted criminal. Not sure why, but something about it made me feel pleased. He was making a name for himself. Maybe not in the best way, but at least he was getting noticed. However, I realized that if they do catch him, they'd crush him for sure. Guess him making it on the wanted list wasn't good news after all. I began to look for F-Bomb so I could bring him home and keep him away from the cops. I couldn't find him in my city, so I decided to take a gander through the other city. While I was there, I saw a beautiful orange sports car racing around the streets. Almost got hit by it too. Made me wonder if the driver even noticed I was there. Later on, I came across some very unique looking cars. I went to get a closer look at them, but the owners were not too happy with my presence. Hey! Get out of here, you filthy rat! It was at that moment when something clicked into my brain. My so-called friends. They were the ones who brought me here. They did this to me. All this time, I thought they cared about me, but they never did. In fact, no one does. Everyone I've met has treated me like an animal. They know I'm weak and can't do any harm. Like a newborn child. So young and so innocent. But unlike a newborn, I'm all alone. I have no one. On my way back to the other city, I saw the orange sports car once more, the third time in fact. Turns out, there were several people who were trying to claim it as their own. Now isn't that just sad? Not only are these people nothing but scumbags, but apparently they care so much about materialistic things. I was absolutely disgusted by this. So while no one was looking, I quickly got into the car and drove off. Alright, who took it? No one knows? It's funny. I've always known stealing was wrong, but this time, it felt good. Hell, it felt great. Felt like I had done the world a favor. Or maybe it was more of a favor for myself. Either way, it gave me a feeling like no other. And I just knew I had to do it again. I used to feel sad and hopeless all the time, but now I'm feeling much better. I used to feel nothing but hate for this world. Well, I still do, but at least I get to wake up every day to a fine collection of automobiles with the thought of how upset the original owners are. I can just imagine them crying their eyes out over their most prized possessions being missing. They'll never find them here. Although I have yet to find F-Bomb, I will continue searching for him. And I will find that girl who screwed me over and get revenge for what she did. Not sure how, but I may be able to build something with all the items I've collected. We'll see. At the beginning of this new life, I wasn't sure who I was. I was a nobody. No one gave two shits about me. But now, I know who I am. I am a scavenger, a carjacker, an animal living wild and free. I am an outcast and proud, and now all of you will die.